Have you ever walked into a room and felt it? That quiet, unsettling tension you can't quite name? The air feels heavy. The smiles seem forced. There's a presence that drains your peace without saying a word. You try to brush it off, tell yourself you're imagining things, but deep down, something whispers, something's wrong. Evil doesn't always walk in with a snarl or a villain's mask. It doesn't always wear black or announce itself with thunder. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it shakes your hand. Sometimes it pretends to care. That's the most dangerous kind, the kind that hides in plain sight, wearing kindness like camouflage. They don't harm you out of revenge or necessity. They do it because it's their nature, because control feeds them the way oxygen feeds you. They manipulate through subtlety, through charm, through the slow erosion of your confidence. They drain your peace, twist your perception, and before you realize it, you're doubting your own reality. The Stoics warned us about this long ago. Guard your mind. Protect your spirit. Recognize what is within your control and what is not. One of the greatest skills in life isn't knowing how to win an argument or how to read a book faster. It's knowing how to recognize those who mean you harm before they get too close. Because evil, my friend, rarely looks evil until it's too late. But here's the good news. Evil leaves traces. It can hide its smile, but it can't hide its patterns. If you pay attention, there are warning signs, red flags, that reveal exactly who you're dealing with. Recognizing them will protect not only your peace, but your very sense of self. In this video, we'll uncover 6 powerful red flags that expose the toxic, manipulative individuals who pretend to be your friend, your mentor, or even your partner. Learn to spot them early, and you won't just avoid pain. You'll reclaim your power, your freedom, and your clarity. So if you're ready to protect your peace and elevate your mindset, subscribe now. Let's begin. Red flag number 1. They constantly lie or manipulate the truth. Truth is the foundation of trust, and without it, every relationship eventually collapses. But here's the thing. An evil person doesn't just use lies to get what they want. They live in them. Deception isn't their weapon. It's their home. They lie not because they need to, but because they want to. They lie because truth feels like surrender, and manipulation feels like control. They twist facts, reshape stories, and craft illusions that make them look noble while you look uncertain. At first, their lies seem harmless, a tiny exaggeration here, a harmless white lie there. But slowly, patterns start to form. You begin to notice inconsistencies, contradictions, and subtle shifts in their stories. One day, they tell you something with absolute conviction. The next day, they deny ever saying it. When you confront them, they don't admit it. Instead, they act offended. You're misremembering, you're too sensitive, you're overreacting. Sound familiar? That's the trap, to make you question yourself, and once doubt creeps in, they've already won. Because doubt is the leash that keeps you quiet. It makes you second-guess your memory, your emotions, even your instincts. You start replaying conversations in your head, trying to figure out if you were wrong. You weren't. That confusion is by design. A truly malicious liar doesn't just distort facts. They distort reality. They want you to live in a fog where nothing feels solid, where truth bends to their narrative, where your peace dissolves in uncertainty. Think about it. How many times could they have told the truth and didn't? How many moments cost them nothing, to be honest? Yet they chose deception anyway. That's not a mistake. That's intent. And intent reveals character. Lying, for them, is a form of dominance, a quiet way of saying I control what you believe. They don't care if you eventually find out. What they want is the emotional chaos that comes before it, the confusion, the self-doubt, the erosion of your inner strength. And this is where Stoic wisdom becomes your shield. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. But if they cannot, I will hold fast to what is true." That's your weapon, truth. Don't argue with lies. Don't wrestle with illusions. Observe, detach, and guard your mind. Evil feeds on reaction. Starve it with silence. Because once you learn to recognize deception, not just in others, but in your own thoughts, you become unshakable. The liar loses their power because truth no longer needs defending. It simply stands. So ask yourself this. Are there people in your life who always seem to rewrite the past, who turn every confrontation into confusion, who twist your clarity into self-doubt? If so, you may be standing in the presence of red flag number 1, the manipulator of truth. In the next part, we'll uncover the second red flag, one even more subtle yet far more dangerous, the mask of empathy. Because sometimes the kindest words hide the coldest hearts. We ended the last lesson with one simple truth. Your growth is yours alone. You measure it by your own principles, your own progress, not by the opinions of those who seek to break you down. If someone in your life constantly criticizes yet never lifts you up, pause and ask yourself, what do they gain from this? And perhaps more importantly, what are you losing by keeping them close? No one has the right to make you feel unworthy. No one. Recognize the pattern. Protect your peace. Never let someone else's bitterness become the ruler by which you measure your worth. Step away from those who only seek to shrink you, because your growth, your joy, your strength are not theirs to control. And now we reach the final and most revealing sign of all. Red flag number 6. They display no empathy or compassion. If there's one quality that separates the virtuous from the wicked, it's empathy. The sacred ability to share in another's joy, to feel another's pain, to see and honor the humanity in others. Empathy is what binds people together. Without it, love becomes empty, friendship becomes performance, and connection becomes a lie. But an evil person? They feel nothing, not for you, not for anyone. Their indifference is chilling, the kind that makes the room colder just by their presence. You could be suffering, breaking under the weight of grief, and they would stand there, unmoved. No concern, no comfort, just hollow eyes and cold silence. If they acknowledge your pain at all, it's with detached indifference. Well, life's unfair. Or worse, they twist your moment of hurt into something about them. You share your struggle and they redirect it. You open your heart and they close the door. Imagine this. You've just lost someone you love. Or maybe you failed at something you poured your soul into. You reach out to them, hoping for a sliver of understanding, a quiet word, a moment of human warmth. But instead you're met with a blank stare or a casual shrug. It happens to everyone. That's when it hits you. Their lack of humanity isn't subtle anymore. It's undeniable. The Stoics taught us to master emotion, to remain resilient through adversity, but they never preached coldness. True strength isn't the absence of feeling, it's the wisdom to care deeply but act rightly. It's compassion with boundaries. Evil people twist that teaching. They mistake apathy for power. They see emotion as weakness and empathy as a liability. To them, people aren't souls, they're tools. Things to be used, drained, or discarded once they no longer serve a purpose. Their emotional emptiness becomes suffocating. Around them you don't feel seen, you feel invisible. You don't feel understood, you feel alone. And that's exactly how they want you to feel. Because isolation makes you easier to control. But here's the truth. You are not small. You are not invisible. If someone consistently dismisses your feelings, refuses to acknowledge your pain, or treats your presence like a burden, believe them. They are showing you who they truly are. A person without empathy isn't simply emotionally unavailable. They're dangerous. Because if they can't care about your pain, they'll never hesitate to cause it. Recognize the warning. Protect your spirit. Don't go searching for warmth in someone who has none to give. The absence of empathy isn't just a flaw, it's a flashing red sign. Walk away before their emptiness drains you too. I know this may feel like a lot to take in. Recognizing these red flags isn't easy, especially when your heart wants to believe in the best parts of people. When you've invested time, trust, or love, it's painful to accept that someone's intentions were never genuine. But understanding these signs can save you from years of confusion, manipulation, and pain. Because evil doesn't always announce itself. It slips into your life quietly, smiling, charming, pretending to care, while slowly chipping away at your confidence, your peace, your sense of self. Here's the truth. You don't owe your energy to anyone who drains it. You don't owe your time to those who twist it. The moment you recognize these patterns, you have a choice. You can step back. You can protect your heart. You can reclaim your power, even if it means walking away from someone you once trusted. Remember this. Your peace is worth more than their presence. If this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story. Have you ever encountered someone like this? How did you handle it? Or are you still navigating that situation? Share your thoughts in the comments. You never know who your story might help. And if you're on a journey of growth, of building resilience, awareness, and inner strength, make sure to subscribe. There's so much more to explore about recognizing toxic people, protecting your mind, and mastering your emotions. Until next time, take care of your heart, guard your mind, and always trust your instincts. And when you finally stand up for yourself, the tables turn instantly. Suddenly, you're the villain. You say something reasonable, a boundary, a truth, a simple no, and they twist it into betrayal. How could you do this to me? You're the one hurting me, they cry, flipping the script before you can even catch your breath. In seconds, your genuine need for peace becomes an accusation. Their failure to change becomes your fault. They distort reality so skillfully that you start to wonder if you were too harsh, too selfish, too insensitive for simply protecting your own well-being. But this isn't love. It isn't even misunderstanding. It's control, pure and calculated. The Stoics taught that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can control our responses. And that's where your power lies. Because a person who refuses to take responsibility for their life isn't just weak, they're dangerous. A person who will not own their actions will always find a way to place the weight of their chaos on your shoulders. So ask yourself, are you constantly making excuses for them? Do you feel guilty for setting simple boundaries? Have you been pulled into their endless cycle of problems, only to realize they don't actually want solutions, just sympathy? If so, it's time to step back. You are not responsible for fixing someone who refuses to help themselves. You are not obligated to stay in relationships built on guilt and manipulation. Because someone who clings to their victimhood at the expense of others is not just toxic, they are a threat to your peace. Recognize the pattern, refuse to be controlled by their false narrative, and when necessary, walk away. Which brings us to red flag number 5. They constantly criticize you but never acknowledge your successes. There's a kind of poison that doesn't kill you all at once. It wears you down slowly, drop by drop. It's not obvious at first, it doesn't shout, it seeps in quietly through small, carefully placed words. You could have done better. That's nice, but are you sure that's good enough? That's how it begins, the slow erosion of your self-worth. Evil people use criticism like a weapon disguised as wisdom. It's not honest feedback meant to help you grow. It's deliberate sabotage meant to make you shrink. They'll never celebrate your victories, no matter how hard you've worked, no matter how far you've come. If you succeed, they'll downplay it. If you grow, they'll move the goalpost. And if you dare to feel proud of yourself, they'll remind you of every little thing you didn't do perfectly. Picture this. You spend weeks, maybe months, working on something you're truly proud of. You pour your energy, your focus, your heart into it. Finally, you finish. You share your joy, expecting warmth, maybe just a word of support. But instead, you get a cold shrug. Well, that's good, but you could have done better. Or worse, they turn it into a competition. Oh, that's cute. I did something similar, but mine was bigger, harder, better. And just like that, your happiness shrinks. The light in you dims. This isn't constructive criticism. It's corrosion. It's a quiet, constant reminder that in their eyes you'll never be enough, because your success threatens them. Even the strongest mind can be worn down by repeated negativity. The Stoics warned us that while external validation is fleeting, even inner strength can erode when surrounded by constant judgment. Evil people know this. That's why they do it. They don't want to see you grow. They want to make you doubt your growth. The most insidious part, while they're busy minimizing your achievements, they exaggerate their own. They brag, they boast, they build monuments to their supposed greatness, always placing themselves a few steps above you. It's never about truth. It's about power. But remember this. Their words do not define you. Their approval is not your compass. The Stoics teach us to measure ourselves not by comparison, but by character. Because true strength isn't proven by who claps for you, it's revealed by how little you need their applause. In the next part, we'll expose red flag 6. The final and most dangerous trait of all, the mask of kindness that hides a ruthless hunger for control. After revealing the chaos makers who thrive on conflict, we now step into an even darker tactic, one that attacks not your surroundings, but your mind itself. Because once they can't control you through drama, they'll control you through doubt. They'll make you feel like you're always the problem. A mind in doubt is a mind that can be controlled, and evil people know this better than anyone. That's why they use one of the most insidious weapons of manipulation ever known: gaslighting. They don't need chains to bind you or threats to silence you. All they need is time and the slow, steady erosion of your confidence. They'll make you question your memory, your emotions, even your perception of reality, until you begin to depend on them to tell you what's true. At first, it's subtle. You express frustration and they respond with, "You're overreacting." You recall a past event, but they insist, "That never happened." You bring up something hurtful they said, and they scoff, "You're too sensitive." It sounds small, harmless even, but over time those little moments pile up like bricks, building a prison of self-doubt. You start second-guessing yourself. Maybe I am too emotional, maybe I misunderstood, maybe it's not them, maybe it's me. That's exactly what they want you to believe. A person who truly cares about you will listen, even when they disagree. But a manipulator doesn't seek understanding, they seek dominance. Their goal isn't connection, it's control. They want you unstable, uncertain, and dependent on them for validation. Because the more you doubt yourself, the more power they have over you. Imagine this. You're in a disagreement and you know you're right. You remember the conversation clearly, but they look at you with calm conviction and say, "You're mistaken." They twist the details, rewrite what happened, and make you feel foolish for even bringing it up. Suddenly, you're no longer defending your point, you're defending your sanity. The Stoics taught us to trust reason, to see things as they are, and to stand firm in truth. But gaslighting pulls you away from that clarity. It drags you into confusion until you start questioning your own judgment. And once you begin seeking their approval to confirm what's real, you've handed them the keys to your mind. So remember this: if someone constantly makes you feel like you're always at fault, if they dismiss your emotions, twist your words, or make you doubt your own memory, take it as a warning. That is not love. That is not care. That is control. You don't owe your loyalty to someone who poisons your sense of self. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting. You are not too sensitive. Stand firm. Trust your perception. Believe your truth. Because truth doesn't need permission to exist. And that brings us to red flag number 4, perhaps one of the most manipulative masks of all. They play the victim in every situation. Life tests everyone. Hardship spares no one. But strong people face challenges with resilience. They take responsibility, learn, and grow. Evil people, however, wear victimhood like armor. It protects them from accountability, while doubling as a weapon to guilt and manipulate others. To them, nothing is ever their fault. When life turns against them, they blame the world, their past, their upbringing, the people closest to them, anyone but themselves. When things go wrong, they don't reflect or change. They point fingers. And the worst part? They want you to believe their story. They want you to feel sorry for them. They want your empathy to become their shield. At first, their self-pity may seem harmless, but over time, the pattern becomes clear. Their problems never get better, no matter how much you help. Their misfortunes always seem exaggerated. Their suffering somehow always greater than everyone else's. They drain you emotionally, using your kindness like a leash, keeping you tied to their endless cycle of misery. And when you finally gather the courage to set a boundary or hold them accountable, they twist it again, and suddenly you become the bad guy. You'll hear phrases like, "After everything I've been through, you're really doing this to me?" Or "You don't care about me at all, do you?" That's not pain speaking. That's manipulation in disguise. In the next section, we'll expose exactly how these perpetual victims use guilt as a weapon, and how Stoic strength teaches you to break free from their emotional traps without losing your compassion or your peace. Just as we saw before, these chaos seekers thrive on conflict like predators in the shadows. They wait patiently for the perfect moment to strike, and when it comes, their timing is surgical. It starts with a single, precisely placed remark, a comment so subtle that at first no one even realizes its impact. But within moments, the atmosphere shifts. What was once laughter and warmth between two relatives suddenly turns into quiet tension. Smiles fade, conversations stall. You can feel the energy of the room change, the air thick with discomfort. It's almost as if they've been waiting for that exact moment, carefully plotting the perfect disruption for the biggest emotional reaction. And once the spark ignites, they fade into the background. They don't argue, they don't explain. They simply watch, quietly, contentedly, like a spectator at a tragic play they themselves directed. The wave of disharmony rolls through the gathering, a sharp contrast to the peace that existed just seconds before. The Stoics taught that we can't control the storms others create, but we can protect the stillness of our own minds. That's our power. But make no mistake, these conflict-driven individuals do far more than merely stir the pot. They delight in the chaos they cause. They find pleasure in heartbreak, satisfaction in tension, and entertainment in fractured relationships. What most of us find painful, they find exhilarating. And when confronted, they never take responsibility. Instead, they put on their favorite mask, innocence. I didn't mean it that way. Everyone's overreacting. I was just being honest. You've heard these lines before, but their words are weapons disguised as sincerity. Their tactics are deliberate, targeted at every fault line they can exploit, every insecurity they can amplify. What makes them truly dangerous is their utter lack of empathy. To them, harmony holds no beauty, compassion holds no meaning. Connection is not something to be cherished, it's something to be used. They don't see people, they see pieces in a game. And every tear, every argument, every broken bond is proof of their power. This is not impulsive behavior, it's intentional drama. They create emotional storms because it reminds them that they can. It's how they measure their influence, how they affirm that they still have control over the emotions of others. And that, for them, is intoxicating. But Stoicism gives us the antidote. The ancient philosophers taught that true strength lies not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. That is where peace begins, inside. No one can steal your calm unless you hand it over. So if you notice someone who constantly steers conversations toward confrontation, who subtly pits people against each other, who seems almost amused when tensions rise, that's not coincidence. That's a warning. Protect your boundaries. Value your mental well-being more than their approval. Because life is too precious to waste in the company of those who treat relationships like battlegrounds and other people's emotions like trophies. Walk away if you must. Not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because as the Stoics remind us, we become what we allow to influence us. Choose calm over chaos. Choose peace over pride. Choose people who build, not those who break. And now we come to red flag number 3. One of the most deceptive and emotionally draining traits of all. They make you doubt yourself. Previously, we uncovered the first red flag, the manipulator of truth, the one who twists reality not out of necessity but for power. Now let's go deeper into that darkness. Because to them, lying isn't just about avoiding trouble, it's about dominance. Every falsehood is a test, a probe, a quiet experiment to see how far they can push before you break. They fabricate stories, twist words, and reshape facts not because they have to, but because they can. And the most chilling part? They feel no guilt, not a hint of remorse. For them, deception is a form of control, a way to stand above others, to prove that they can bend truth itself to their will. Each lie is a string they pull, and with every tug, your confidence, your peace, and your clarity start to unravel. A Stoic knows that clarity of mind is the foundation of virtue. If a person constantly manipulates the truth, they're not just dishonest, they're dangerous. Every conversation becomes a battlefield. Every interaction becomes a war of perception. And by the end, you're left drained, confused, and wondering which version of reality is real, theirs or yours. But here's the thing. You don't have to play their game. You don't owe them your attention, your defense, or your peace. If someone in your life fits this pattern, don't dismiss it as a bad habit or a flaw in character. It's a red flag waving right in front of you, begging to be seen. Because the longer you tolerate their deceit, the deeper they plant their roots, in your thoughts, in your emotions, in the way you see yourself. Slowly they take control, not through strength but through confusion. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, do you constantly second-guess your memory around them? Do you walk away from conversations feeling uneasy, uncertain, or somehow guilty, even when you did nothing wrong? Does something about them always feel off? If your gut says yes, don't ignore it. Step back, guard your peace, Trust your instincts, because the truth is, an evil person will never hand you honesty. They'll hide it, twist it, and bury it deep beneath charm. It's up to you to see it for what it is. And that brings us to the next warning sign. Red flag number 2. They love conflict. A sure sign you're dealing with someone whose intentions are anything but pure is their unshakable devotion to discord. While most people crave peace, preferring calm conversations or at least maintaining respectful distance from chaos, these individuals seem drawn to it like moths to a flame. Where others seek harmony, they seek heat. Where most try to soothe tension, they stir it. They sow tiny seeds of division, quietly orchestrating the drama around them, as if life were one grand theatre, and they, the director, feeding off the energy of every scene. They thrive in conflict because it gives them power. In the noise, they can control perception. In confusion, they can manipulate outcomes. And when others argue, they stand at the center, calm, calculating, satisfied. The Stoics taught that external events, including conflict, lie outside our control. What remains in our hands is our response, our discipline, our peace, our inner stillness. But these conflict seekers, their entire mission is to dismantle that stillness. They feed on drama, drawing energy from the very tension that exhausts everyone else. Sometimes they don't even need a motive. Chaos is their motive. Watching others lose balance is their pleasure, their proof of power. You'll recognize them by the trail they leave behind. Arguments where there was once laughter, suspicion where there was once trust. They don't shout to create conflict, they whisper it into existence. A quiet comment here, a harmless suggestion there, and suddenly the air is thick with tension. They'll feign innocence, of course. I didn't mean anything by it. I was just being honest. But you'll notice the flicker, that faint spark of satisfaction when discord erupts. Because for them, confusion is art, and your peace is the canvas they love to ruin. Picture this. A simple family reunion, warm smiles, shared memories, soft laughter. Then one person, that person, drops a single careless comment, just sharp enough to sting. Old wounds reopen, silence fills the air. And if you look closely, you'll catch it, the smallest smirk, the glimmer of victory in their eyes. That's how they work, quietly, skillfully, always with purpose. And the Stoic lesson is clear. Do not let such people pull you into their storms. When conflict is their weapon, calmness becomes your shield. Because when you refuse to react, when you stay still while they burn for chaos, you take away their greatest source of power. In the next section, we'll reveal the third red flag, a hidden force even more deceptive than conflict itself, the illusion of empathy.